Yep, finally happened. It's been 25 long years, and to be honest, I wasn't sure if this day was ever actually going to happen, but she actually made it. She made it all the way across the ocean, which actually only took 2 weeks, by the way. All the way from Yokohama to Long Beach, California, where we picked it up, and she is now the first street legal R34 GTT in Arizona.
Me sacaste de Japón para vivir aquí?
This car landed in June. I know we're a little late. No, it landed early July, and this is a June car, which was the first month that they were available. So it's very likely it's the very first one here. And I would love to say that everything went smoothly and without issue, but as you probably already know from the title of this video, that just wasn't the case. So let's get back to the garage and see what the damage is. Not the most graceful thing to get out of. I'm sure you guys have all heard like horror stories of during the shipping process, stuff going missing here and there. And to be honest, I was like super scared of that too. And that's actually one of the reasons why we made sure to visit Jeremy before the car left Japan. And the most crucial piece that I wanted to make sure I kept with me was the old logo Nismo oil cap. And so we bought a replacement and put that on there, brought the original back with us. And luckily when we picked up the car, there was nothing missing. Our floor mats were still there, which I was super stoked about because we bought them just for this car. The shift knob, steering wheel, everything was there. But then I started noticing that this door didn't quite close as easily as you would hope it would. And another thing I noticed was when you put the window up, this happens. And I was like, that wasn't like that when we saw it in Japan. And so I started looking at the window, and there's kind of a big gap between the molding and the window itself. And the window has some play to it, but the main thing I noticed was that the weather stripping around the door here, it was all separated. Like it's not lodged in where it's supposed to go. And the most obvious piece of evidence was they left their big greasy mitts right on the window. I don't know if you could see that, but it's obvious that somebody tried to like pull down the window and like get between the molding and the window. I'm not sure where that would have happened. I mean, when we picked it up at the port, the window was already down. The windows were just open and everything was there. Like I said, nothing was missing. Could have either happened at customs at the port in Yokohama, which, I mean, that's unlikely. On the ship over here, which was a Norwegian ship, so Vikings? Come here! Maybe Vikings. And could have happened at Port of Los Angeles, which I think that's probably the most likely one. I'm not sure how it works there. I'm pretty sure that offloading from customs to the port happens in the same area. So I don't know where that would have happened, or who knows if this was even malicious. Maybe they just like locked the keys in the car and had to try and get them out somehow. So, I mean, it's a bummer because now we probably have to like see if we can find a new regulator or hopefully try and fix whatever damage was done here. The weather stripping shouldn't be that big of a deal. I mean, this stuff just kind of usually just pushes back in place. It's usually a little bit of a pain, but yeah, it's kind of painful. We'll get to that. But aside from those minor setbacks, we have an R34 and it's in the US. Yippee! So there's plenty to be happy about. I mean, just look at it. It's awesome. And it's in the best color, of course. We actually wanted a red one initially, but yeah, they just weren't worth it. A lot of the red ones, red is like the second rarest color, so they kind of get taxed accordingly. But and I was okay with it being a little more, but what I wasn't okay with was all the red ones that we found that were in our price range. They were all, they all had accident history. Neither of the two that we looked at weren't repaired properly. Like One especially was they just stuck a new bumper on it and just kind of yanked out the crumpled bits, and that was it. Like you could literally still see inner driver's side, the right side wheel well, that it was still like all crumpled up. So I was like, that's not worth it. So then I just started looking at our second option, which was black. Black is actually kind of a rare color too. Obviously not as rare as red or yellow being the rarest. There's a lot better options. Well, not a whole lot either. Like I said, black's not super common, but we did find this car, which like literally ticked all of our boxes. It was black, factory manual, GTT, so it has the R35 turbo, and it had a bunch of little goodies. So I made the call and just decided to jump on this one. And then immediately after, I kind of regret it, because then I started worrying about, you know, all the stories I hear of people getting stuff stolen in transit. And then I was like, oh crap, all the nice little extra bits made me purchase this car are probably gonna get stolen along the way. But that didn't happen, so I'm super happy about that. So let's check out what all we got with our purchase. All right, so first and most obvious piece that we got with our car is these awesome
R30.
These are some 18-inch CE28s. They're a little bit more old school, and honestly, I was hoping that they were 3-piece or 2-piece, but no such luck. They're just 1-piece wheels. I mean, they look great. They fit the car. The fitment's not like great, but it's like very daily spec. Like you tell this was like an older person that set up this car, because it doesn't rub, it doesn't scrape, it just drives like you would want it to. So these are great, and these are probably what we're gonna put on the S14. So congratulations, camera girl, you have new wheels. So what we're planning on doing with this in the long run is obviously making our own GTR, because why else would you buy a GTT if you can't afford a GTR? So we're gonna make our own, and in doing that, you basically make the GTT a wide body by using all the GTR fenders and quarter panels and stuff. And obviously these wheels aren't gonna fill out those fenders. So these are pretty decent spec. They're 18 by 8.5 plus 30. So they'll fit the S14 perfect. So that works out well. As far as the exterior, the next obvious plus is the aero kit. This is a factory Nissan Altia aero kit. And this was an optional extra that you would get when you order this car. So front bumper is different. You get different side skirts, a little vent here. So the one thing this doesn't have from the Altia aero kit is the wing, which is actually a very good thing, because that wing is hideous. It does not go with the car at all. I don't know what the story behind that wing is, but it doesn't look cool. I mean, we'll insert a picture here somewhere. It's terrible. What's not terrible is that this has a GTR wing. In the pictures, I wasn't sure if it was an authentic wing or not, because there's obviously a bunch of like fiberglass replicas and whatnot on the market. When we got it, I asked Jeremy to see if he could tell if it was authentic or not. And he looked at it, and he didn't have another GTR, like an actual GTR in storage at the time. So he couldn't say one way or the other. But looking at it now and looking against pictures of like fiberglass wings, this is definitely an authentic like Nissan GTR wing. The biggest reason you could tell that is this little spoiler on the spoiler. This is aluminum. And also it has these little rests on the main body of the spoiler. The fiberglass ones don't have that, and this little spoiler flat piece is obviously not aluminum on the fake ones. So this is a huge plus. I mean, this wing is like super expensive. I think Trust Kikaku has one listed right now for $4,000. So that's $4,000 I don't got to spend on one. So super happy about that. Another thing is this still has the factory, or I guess it's not factory, the dealership sticker from where it was first sold. So this car came from Fukuoka and came from a Prince dealership, which is super cool. So hope that doesn't get burnt off in the Arizona sun. Not that this is gonna sit outside at all, but as far as the exterior, that's pretty much it. It has these ugly rain guards that are probably gonna be the first thing I take off, because I don't know if they're supposed to be black or smoke colored at some point, but they're this weird reddish brown color now. Not a fan. So that's probably coming off. Oh, another huge plus is the headlights. R34s came with two kinds of headlights. They came with halogens and xenons. These, as you can see, by the lettering inside, are xenons. These are super expensive. These are like over $2,000 each. So, and these are exactly the same ones that come on the GTR. So, huge plus. We don't gotta try to upgrade these at all or anything. The only other thing we gotta do is probably remove this ugly eyelid thing, which I learned is actually an optional Nismo extra. But nonetheless, I don't like it. Probably gonna rip that off. So now let's move on to the interior. All right, so moving on to the interior, the main centerpiece is this Recaro RSG bucket seat, which has quickly grown to be the most hated thing in this car for me because it just makes the car such a huge pain in the ass to drive. It's such a chore getting in and out of it. I hate the seat. I want to rip it out right now. Also gonna be on the list for one of the first things we do here. Besides that, on top of that, I don't even really fit in it. This is not American friendly. Next thing is this Momo Corsa steering wheel. This one's super cool. Again, not really my style. I prefer an OEM style wheel, but again, just another good plus. Probably gonna put this in the Datsun along with the seat because the Datsun's gonna be an actual race car, so it could utilize an actual bucket seat. Next thing is we have a Blitz boost controller, which is super cool. It actually still works, which is even better. Backlighting does not, however. It turns on when you turn on the car and then it never turns on again, so I don't know what's up with that. Next thing is these awesome Defi gauges. So that's a big plus because that's a really cool piece. And then we have a Pioneer Carrozzeria head unit, which does not work, doesn't make any noise whatsoever. Actually, it beeps. Okay, it doesn't beep anymore. Yeah, it beeps. And it has this super weird CD thing. Spoon? Spoon. He listens to spoons. Cool. It's super neat. I wish it worked. I mean, it doesn't play anything. It acts like it's playing. So the issue, so on S14s, I know we did a video on how to repair the factory amplifiers on the S14. I don't know if this has a similar setup where the head unit goes through some sort of factory amplifier before it goes to the speakers. It may be the same kind of setup and the amplifier is fried just like all the other ones, and that may be keeping it from playing through to the speakers. That's another thing we'll have to look into. All right, next thing is the shift knob, which we actually already replaced with one that we got from a Modi factory, but it came with this super cool Nismo mid-logo shift knob, and this looks like this was installed when it was new because I mean, look at the wear on this. It's crazy. The dude wore straight through the chrome. I don't know, I may try to like re-powder coat this at some point or something, but it's also weird because it has this like plastic piece sticking out. The new ones don't have this. I don't know if this was meant to have some kind of like collar under it or something. I don't know. But we got a fresh new leather shift knob from a Modi factory, which actually was for Camera Girl's S14, but it didn't really fit, so put it in here. Next thing that came in here is whatever this is. I was hoping this was an ETC or something, but I think it's some kind of like radar detector, but we didn't get the cord for it. I don't know what happened to that because I saw it in one of the photos, so it got lost somewhere along the way. Maybe that's what they stole. An AC cord. This was actually one of the things that I was really looking for as far as like when we were looking for an R34, is I really wanted one that had the interior like in the best shape possible, because I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of like cars from the auction and whatnot. Japanese people love to stick gauges like bolted to the dash and stuff. We're not sacrificing the interior on our car. We need it to be absolutely perfect. And this was the only thing that was like bolted to the dash, which I don't think it's even bolted. I think it's just like glued in place. Yeah. So this is just some like double-sided tape. That can go in the trash now. But regardless, we weren't gonna keep this piece anyway. I wanna try and put some sort of screen up here like the GTRs have. Probably not the multifunction display, but something similar. I already knew that this piece was removable, So I wasn't super stressed about it having, even if it was bolted down, I wasn't super stressed about it. It was gonna get replaced anyway. But the rest of the dash is great. The door panels are in great condition. Everything's super nice. And next thing is our brand new floor mats, which we bought from a Muddy Factory, and I had to carry around for like 2 days straight in little shopping bags. So regardless if they got stolen or not, I was not carrying them around the rest of the trip. So I dumped them in the car while we were there. So thank you, Jeremy. And yeah, they still have the little blue sticker on them. So let's peel that off right now.
なるほど。これが ASMR。
They're super nice emblems too. They're like embossed and everything. I thought they were just like flat stickers. That's pretty nice. Oh, while we're down here, the other thing that we have, I actually thought these were generic like eBay or I don't know, I guess Up Garage pedals, but they're actually Nismo old logo pedals. You can see the old Nismo logo there. And even on the dead pedal on the left. So I didn't really like how they look, but now knowing that they're Nismo pieces, I don't know if I want to get rid of them now. Because I actually wanted to put the 350Z style pedals that are like actual aluminum. But that about does it for the interior. Oh, another little bonus that we got is the rear cover to the Recaro seat. So with that, let's move on to the engine bay. All right, and it's already got a nice coating of Arizona dirt on it all over the place, so fantastic. Another thing, first thing in here actually is the battery. Jeremy from Zap Auto Export got us a brand new battery, which was super awesome because when we went to pick it up at the port, it just started right up. No issues, no nothing, just turned it on, drove it to the trailer and took it home. So that was fantastic. Next thing, which we already put back, is our Nismo old logo oil cap, which the last listing I saw that on eBay that sold was for $1,000. So that was the main piece I wanted to make sure we brought back with us. I actually bought a new Nismo oil cap. So we bought this guy and we put this on there because this one's brand new from a Muddy Factory also, but it's only 80 bucks. That one's 1,000. So we brought that back with us in the luggage. Another thing I noticed is this thing's got like the whole Blitz catalog. It has a Blitz aluminum radiator, Blitz intake, Blitz boost controller, Blitz coilovers. And that's a strut bar. This was another thing I wasn't sure about is it says Nismo on it. And I was like, that doesn't really look like a Nismo strut bar. But after doing some researching, G-Attack is a set of like, not coilovers, like just strut and spring combo suspension that they sold for this car. So it was like, I don't know if it was like an optional thing that you would do at a dealer, but it was definitely like something you could buy like aftermarket from Nismo. So at one point this car had Nismo G-Attack struts and springs, but obviously now they've been upgraded to the Blitz coilovers, which luckily are not blown. They still ride great. And it's one less thing that we gotta buy for it. So yeah, I mean, the engine's here. It's got a turbo, makes whooshy noises. Super cool. It's also very weird seeing an RB25 like in its natural home, because I've only ever seen these in 240SXs, S13s. We had one in our S14 way back when. And it's weird seeing it with like all the rat's nest like intact and functioning. That's just gonna be more stuff we gotta delete along the way. I'm still not 100% sure what we're gonna do long-term with the engine. Obviously it's pretty low mileage, it runs great, but it's also not an RB26. So I don't know, let me know what you guys would do, what direction you think we should go. Obviously we wanted to do a full GTR clone, and I would like to get an RB26, but they're also kind of cost prohibitive at this point, so. And for the power goals that we have, I don't know if the RB25 is up to it. I mean, I don't know. So our goal is to be like all the Australian guys, right? Like there's like legendary names out there of R34s like War GTR, June 2, King JDM. There's all these like super high horsepower, like super fast drag builds. And I kind of want to be up there too. Like I want to build this to be like a sub 10-second car. So 800-ish horsepower, somewhere around there. But also along those lines, it's not all-wheel drive, it's rear-wheel drive. So I don't know if that's a plus or a minus. I mean, you guys have watched drag racing, both can get the job done. So I'm not super concerned about that aspect. I would have liked to have the all-wheel drive, but it's not a huge loss. Another thing to check on these is the strut towers, which I'm sure you guys have seen other YouTubers online that have bought R34s.
So as you saw, this was previously, I wouldn't even call it a repair. It looks like they just kind of, what did they even do? I see Bondo down here. You see it over here. With the chisel right away. Is that all Bondo? Yeah.
The strut towers are super prone to rusting, and that was like one thing that Zap Auto Export's really good about, is letting you know where there's any questionable areas. And this car completely checked out. All the original stickers, spot welds, seam sealer, it all looks fantastic. Nothing looks out of place. There's not a ½ of Bondo covering anything. Super stoked about that. Next thing we could do is take a look under the car. All right, so another little bonus that we got down here is a Nismo exhaust, which super nice piece, but it's a little worse for wear at this point, and also it's super quiet. I don't really like it. it's not like loud at all. Another thing that we'll eventually be replacing, and yeah, just the general condition under here. This was one of the things that like I wasn't sure about initially. I wanted to start out with the cleanest possible car. This one is from Fukuoka, but when we first saw it, it was actually in Okinawa. Or no, it was in Osaka. It was at a dealership in Osaka, but before there, it had been on Okinawa, which if you guys know where Okinawa is, it's a tiny island in the middle of the ocean. They don't even really consider themselves Japan. It's where cars kind of go to rot and die. Like, if you look up pictures from cars from there, it is insane, like what happens to cars. The rust is just unreal. Little backstory is like, I didn't realize it had been from Okinawa until after we already paid for it. So I kind of had a little heart attack, and I was initially thinking this car was like a lost cause and it was gonna be garbage. And yeah, I was kind of stressing out quite a bit about that. But after doing some more research, it turns out it was only in Okinawa for 1 year. Before that, it was in Fukuoka. So it was from mainland, it was fine. But like all this that you see here, especially like this, which this is just the heat shield, it's not structural or anything, but like all the ugliness is just from that 1 year in Okinawa. So that gives you an idea of how bad it can get. But we already like looked over this car, and like everything else is not super clean, but like it's just like surface salt and junk and surface rust, like on the diff and axles and whatever. The subframe doesn't look great, but it's not like super rusty or anything. Like all this is pretty minor. Like the parts that look the worst are literally just the heat shields, like this one and around the gas tank. That one looks pretty bad. But again, those are just flimsy heat shields, not a huge deal. Back here, one of the things you'll notice that's different from like 240s is this whole apparatus here. So this is the Super Hikis system. This is basically a rear steering box or a rear steering rack. And this steers the rear wheels to different degrees depending on how fast you're going, depending on your steering angle of your steering wheel. This is one of the first things that people get rid of, because I don't know, they usually fail and stuff, or people just don't like it, I guess. I've yet to make up my mind on that. We need to start driving it a little more and see what I think. But so far it seems to work. It doesn't have any like error codes on the dash or anything like that, so that's a plus. Then as we move further down the car, all right, and further down the car, we got the frame rails, and yeah, just some like light surface rust. on the whole thing. There's a couple of deep scrapes here. Those are got a little bit of surface rust on them also. But like I said, overall, the frame rails aren't smashed. They're not crumpled. It's in pretty good shape. The floor pans look like they're in pretty good shape too. And it looks like it's got a 3-inch downpipe as well. It's got a factory cat. And the rest of the exhaust. The exhaust doesn't look like it would be a Nismo. So the muffler obviously is a Nismo muffler, but the rest of the exhaust, I'm not so sure. That looks like cheap piping from like a muffler shop. So I don't know if maybe the Nismo exhaust was corroded or something, which I would doubt since it should be stainless. Or I don't know. Maybe they just found a Nismo muffler and stuck it on the end of this. But that's another thing we'll have to replace. Other than that, we just got the engine and steering rack down there. The steering rack does look like we may need to replace a couple of those lines. All right, so further down here, we have the engine, transmission. Transmission looks great. We got the slave cylinder. The only concerning part down here is honestly the lines to the power steering rack. That looks like we may need to replace at some point. I don't know how bad these are. Or maybe not. And most of that's just coming off. Maybe it's not as bad as I thought. So yeah, overall, obviously the car needs some attention. Obviously this car's been the daily driver and it's been pretty well cared for. I mean, obviously it's got some really nice pieces and stuff, but it was a driver's car. It was used, so it's gonna need a little bit of care, and that's where we're gonna come in. All right, that's gonna do it for this quick overview of our latest purchase, our 1998 Nissan Skyline R34 GTT. That's a mouthful. So let us know what you think in the comments. Was this a good purchase? Would you have bought this car? And stay tuned for the next episode where we'll probably be installing our first round of parts and taking it out for a test drive. So remember, always do your best, and see you guys next time.